Hi there, it's Mr. Clark. Welcome to lesson 7.3.2 on voice leading, the 2 chord. So, if we think about the 4 chord, it's 4, 6, 1, or flicks if we're in minor. And the 2 chord is very similar because it starts on 2, then you have 4, and then possibly flat 6. So there's a lot of overlap here, so it makes sense that 2 is also a predominant chord. 4 can go to 2 because your root is moving down, so that's easy to tell there's a difference. Alright, let's do this major. So there's your 4 chord, there's your 2 chord, clear root motion. It's harder to go from 2 to 4. This is much less common, not to say it never happens, but it's not something that you should be writing at this point. Because if you start on a 2 chord, and you go to a 4 chord, there is a difference. You can hear a difference, but it almost sounds like you're just adding a 7th onto your 2 chords, because a 2 minor 7 would be 2, 4, 6, and 1. So because the root that you're moving to would already be in the chord, it's harder to distinguish orally. 4 to 2 is a stronger motion because it adds a new chord tone in as the root. So for the purposes of what we're doing right now, 1 can go to 4 or to 2 directly. It can also skip the predominant entirely and just go to 5. We know this. 4 can go to 2, but not vice versa. 4 can go back to 1, 2 cannot go back to 1. 4 and 2 can both go to 5, and 5 can go to 1. So this is like a little choose-your-own-adventure map when you're writing your own phrases. In minor, because this is a diminished triad, we basically only see it in root position. We never see it in root position, basically ever. It's mostly in first inversion. So voice leading from 1 to 2, or any of their inversions, beautiful. It's the same principle as when we were looking at 4 to 5 earlier, where if the bass moves by step, all the other voices have to move in the opposite direction in contrary motion. So this is your default from going from your 1 chord to your 2 chord. So alto and tenor can move down by step, soprano moves down by skip. Here the bass does not move by step, so we have more freedom. We have first inversion 1 to root position 2. Bass does move by step, so all the upper voices move up. And then root position 1, first inversion 1 to first inversion 2. Bass moves up by step, all the other voices move down. Then in minor, like I said, we basically only have our first inversion, so. Or. And remember, with diminished triads, we want to double the bass, or the third of the chord, which happens in both of these instances. From 4 to 2, we already said there are so many common tones, so just keep as many common tones as possible, which should be 4 and 6 or flat 6. So, beautiful. Literally only the alto moves there. So that's pretty straightforward. And then 2, or 2 diminished, to 5 or 5/7 is the trickiest voice leading involving 2. You want to keep as many common tones as possible. So if you're going from 2 to 5, 2, 4, 6, keep that in frame, to 5, 5, 7, 2, you have the 1 common tone. If you're going to 5, 7, you have the 2 common tones. So you want to keep those as common tones. If the bass is moving by step because of inversions, upper voices need to move in the opposite direction or stay on a common tone. So here, they did not follow that advice, and you ended up with parallel octaves between the bass and the soprano. That's bad. In minor, you can't go from flicks to sev, because that's an augmented second, which is hard to sing, so flicks will need to go down to 5 if you're in minor. But you need a third in your 5/7 chord, so 2 has to go down to 7, which just leaves 4, which can't go up to 5 because that would be parallel octaves. So in a regular 5 chord, it would skip down to 2, and a 5/7 would stay as a common tone. So before we get to the major examples, let's just look at that over here in minor, because I was just talking about it. So we're in C minor. So our 2 diminished 6 chord. So flicks has to go down to 5. The bass goes up to, we need some note on sev. We need a third. The closest one is our alto, currently on scale degree 2, so it goes down to sev. Then we have the bass and the soprano on the same note. Bass has to go up by step to a root position chord, so then our soprano has to skip down in a 5 chord or stay there for a 5-7 chord. So then back to our major examples. This first one is easy. No stepwise root motion. I'm sorry. If I can play it. Next one is bad because it has those parallel octaves. Again, I can't. Okay, there we go. Again, appropriate for some contexts and genres, but not this one. Move the upper voices down. Then going to 5-7, we just want to make sure we're keeping common tones. If I write a 6 there, I should probably make it a 6. Yeah, that should be an F. Oops. And then you'll sometimes see a 7th on a 2 chord. It's more common than adding it onto a 4 chord. If so, make sure to resolve the 7th, which in this case would be scale degree 1 going down to scale degree 7. So in major. Or in minor. Ooh. That would be our half diminished 7th chord. Spicy. So that's what we got going on there. Go ahead and voice lead some 2 chords. See you next time.